On Channel 9.
This is the CBS Evening News. Bob Schieffer reporting. Good evening. Demonstrations for more democratic reforms grew more intense today in China. In the city of Xi'an, rioters attacked governmental offices, burned about 20 houses and 10 vehicles. And in Beijing, there was yet another huge demonstration, the biggest pro-democracy rally in 10 years. John Sheehan has our report.
The rulers of China gathered in the Great Hall of the People to bid farewell to a fallen comrade. The same comrade they ousted in disgrace 2 years ago from his position as head of the Communist Party. Hu Yaobang's downfall was due to his alleged tolerance of student demonstrations and Western ideas. But there were two funerals here today, the official one, and this observance directly across the street that the authorities tried to prevent. Thousands of students demonstrated for 5 days in a row, praising Hu Yaobang as a symbol of the democratic freedoms they yearn for. The protest included one rally that was the most massive challenge to government authority in the 40 years since China came under communist rule. Public confidence in the communist system has reached a low point.
The confidence is low because the leaders have reached a place in their reform process where they don't know what to do next.
Last night, the student protesters refused to leave Tiananmen Square, defying government threats to remove them by force. But during the night, tens of thousands of working people streamed into the square. By coincidence or design, the massive presence of ordinary Chinese citizens protected the student demonstrators. At its peak, the crowd numbered more than 100,000. This morning, top communist leaders arriving for the official funeral had to listen to demonstrators chanting "Down with dictatorship, down with corrupt officials." The next test for the government, Monday morning, will be whether the students return to class or go on strike. John Sheehan, CBS News, Beijing.
The crippled battleship Iowa is heading back to its home port of Norfolk tonight as investigators on board try to determine what caused the gun explosion that left 47 sailors dead. New photos of the accident became available today, and Eric Ingberg has a report.
Still pictures taken by a crew member of the Iowa at the very moment of the deadly explosion provide graphic evidence of the power of the blast. On battleships, large rubber protective housings seal the 16-inch guns at the point where they protrude from the turret. In the photos taken last Wednesday by an officer of the Iowa, one of those seals is seen blown completely off the gun as the explosion rocks the number 2 turret. Then smoke engulfs the turret. At least 2 of its 3 guns were loaded in preparation for their first practice firing of the day. Something went terribly wrong. The Navy does not know what. The captain of one of the Iowa's sister battleships says the hardware was dependable.
There's always a chance of something going wrong when you're dealing with a piece of equipment. I feel like that the gun is still a fine gun.
The 47 who died were all inside the turret. The pictures tell the story of heroic efforts by their shipmates to keep the fire from spreading. It took 2 hours to put it out and to remove explosives from the 2 loaded guns. The Navy town of Norfolk posted an honor guard along the waterfront today in preparation for the arrival of the Iowa tomorrow. The accident investigators are already on board. Their inquiry is expected to take several weeks and is hobbled by a sad fact. No one in the sealed room where the guns were loaded survived the explosion, so there will be no eyewitnesses to say exactly what happened. Eric Ingberg, CBS News, Washington.
It will be next week at the earliest before there's a decision in the Oliver North trial. The jury came to no conclusion again today, but Rita Braver has a report tonight on how the North prosecution has become one of the most expensive government investigations in history.
The jury in the Oliver North case deliberated for half a day, but again reached no verdict. U.S. Marshals transported the jurors to the hotel where they're being sequestered. Just one more expense in an investigation that federal officials estimate has already cost U.S. taxpayers more than $40 million. There was at least $5.7 million for the congressional probe, another $250,000 for the Tower Commission. And the White House, the Justice Department, the IRS, and other agencies have spent an estimated $20 million, according to the publication Legal Times. But the highest cost for any single entity is the $14.7 million spent by independent counsel Lawrence Walsh and his prosecution team. And some critics claim that Walsh is spending far too much to prosecute North for what they consider to be relatively simple charges, like obstructing government officials and accepting a home security system.
It would seem that these are fairly small when you consider that the United States government is responsible for prosecuting terrorism, for drug cases, for organized crime, for any number of major, very serious crimes.
Others, however, including several former independent counsels, insist that it's not the individual charges that are important, but the national policy implications of the whole case.
Democracy and justice don't come cheap, and if you have to pursue people who are going to be the subject or targets of the investigation under the Ethics in Government Act, then you're going to have to spend whatever is necessary to complete the investigation.
And the expenditures could go on for years, because once the North trial is over, the cases of former National Security Council Chief John Poindexter and money men Albert Hakim and Richard Secord will proceed. Rita Braver, CBS News at the Federal Courthouse in Washington.
U.S. News and World Report magazine reports tonight that President Bush has secretly authorized the CIA to provide more than $10 million in aid to opponents of Panama's General Manuel Noriega, money to be used in that country's upcoming elections. The United States has been trying for years to force Noriega out, but the White House declined comment on the magazine's report. Well, still ahead on the CBS Evening News, a tug-of-war involving the nuclear missile and political muscle. And later, Bruce Morton reports on a Philadelphia market and the big changes in store.
What's the best kind of fruit? The kind that's fresh, moist, and plump. That's why Sunsweet are my favorite kind of pitted prunes. Moist, plump, and fresh. Sunsweet. Because the best prunes are fresh prunes.
Look at Frank's yard. I don't have a yard like that. Look at that John Deere tractor. I don't need a tractor like that. Want to see what I got?
Introducing the new STX lawn tractor, the basic John Deere, with a price that's just as basic.
You're on your way.
Who would have figured it? I grow up in the city and end up testing products for the farm. Like this one from Dow. We study its effects in the classroom and check the results in the field. It yields more food, more profits for family farmers, and greater groundwater protection. But Dow gave me a grant to find out how to make it work even better. You know, I like being a city kid working in a cornfield.
Dow lets you do great things.
Now at Red Lobster, one great thing deserves another and another. Introducing our great seafood trios. For a limited time, find 6 new trios starting at $7.95. More of everything you crave. Like 3 great tastes of lobster, a new trio of shrimp and crab. Something for everyone. Starting at just $7.95. Kids dinner $1.95. Don't miss the great seafood trios at Red Lobster. And don't forget Secretary's Week. Celebrate with lunch at Red Lobster.
The official announcement won't be made public until next week, but administration officials say the president has decided to reject the advice of his defense secretary and continue funding for development of the multi-billion-dollar Midget Man missile. From our Washington notebook tonight, how that decision was reached and what it means.
So it's a combination of a fight over authority plus the unseemly scrapping that's bound to take place when budgets are too tight and you've got to fight over the spoils.
At stake, what to do about the MX missile, the backbone of the nuclear deterrent, a massive weapon with 10 separate warheads. The problem is it's become a missile looking for a home. It's now based in concrete underground silos, but defense experts agree those silos could be destroyed in a Soviet nuclear attack.
This thing has been caught up in the political axle for 10 years or more. We've had, 34 different basing modes for the MX. We've had half a dozen different commissions that have looked at this issue and recommended solutions. The bottom line is we've never been able to put it together politically.
This is what some experts see as an alternative, a much smaller missile called Midget Man. With only one warhead, it is small enough to be moved around in trucks. Thus, some experts argue it would be more likely to survive a Soviet attack, since the Soviets could never be certain just where all of the Midget Men were located. As the Midget Man concept became more popular in Congress, those who favored the larger MX argued that it could be made mobile too, not on trucks but on special railroad cars. But that too has been controversial.
There's a division within the executive branch on whether it's rail mobile or Midget Man. Likewise, a division in the Congress, rail and Midget Man.
Early in the week, Defense Secretary Richard Cheney, the former congressman from Wyoming, where the MX missiles are based, told the president to drop the Midget Man proposal and stick with MX exclusively. But many defense experts in Congress favor Midget Man, and they urge the president to reject that advice.
That in this case, substantively as well as politically, both of those missiles is the right answer.
Late in the week, the president was still undecided.
We had several important briefings on it, and I will be prepared very soon to make a decision on it. But we haven't, I can't go any further than that.
For the president, it was a real quandary. His defense secretary was pushing the MX, his national security advisor, the Midget Man. Congress was pushing for both, and all of it vastly expensive at a time of tighter and tighter budgets.
The president probably has to satisfy those voices that say we have an increasingly vulnerable ICBM land-based missile system, and something must be done. The trouble is there's no agreement over what that something is.
It was shortly before the president left the White House for Camp David yesterday that he finally made his decision. He'll recommend that Congress continue to fund both MX and the Midget Man programs, at least for a while. Just how much money will be funneled into both programs is unclear, but congressional sources say there were two reasons for the president's decision. He sided with those who believe that both programs can be used as bargaining chips in future arms control negotiations with the Soviets, and he believed that if he cut off funds for Midget Man, congressional supporters had enough votes to block additional funds for MX as well. Soviet defense spending rose 3% last year, much of the increase going for ballistic and surface-to-air missiles. That, according to a U.S. intelligence report released tonight, but the report also found signs that big cuts in military spending promised by Mikhail Gorbachev are also in the works. Lech Wałęsa praised Gorbachev's reforms today and said they will influence what happens in Poland. The Solidarity leader wound up a visit to Rome where he was treated royally. Bert Quint now with that story.
Z tego, co ja mówiłem, Europa jest jedna.
There's only one Europe, Lech Wałęsa said today, not an East and West, and he pleaded for help to make Poland part of it. The electrician from Gdansk was invited here by the Italian unions, but he received a welcome fit for a king. He was embraced by Poland's other favorite son, the Pope, and hailed as a conquering hero by the Italian government. And before returning home today, he made it clear he was acting as unofficial ambassador of the regime that used to be his enemy. He said, "We need Western money to make political and economic reform work. Not gifts or loans," he insisted, but investments. It was Poland's desperate need for Western help that led to the reinstatement this week of Solidarity as the East Bloc's first independent trade union, and it's paying off. Washington immediately promised to contribute. Italy's premier has gone so far as to call for a new Marshall Plan with Western Europe helping any East Bloc country that tries to move toward democracy. It was a diplomatic triumph for the labor leader from the Polish provinces. His Italian hosts were impressed by the political skills he developed since his last visit here in 1981. And Wałęsa certainly sounded like a politician when he was asked if he would run for the new post of president of Poland. He doesn't really want to, he said, but if the Polish people insist, he will. Bert Quint, CBS News, Rome.
This dry, dull paneling is a good place to do some serious writing about Old English. It moisturizes, helps prevent drying and cracking, and brings hidden beauty to the surface. Old English, oil or aerosol, a more caring approach to wood care.
Gas pain,
Bloating. Gas-X has the strongest, fastest relief ingredient. Painful gas is like beer bubbles. Add the leading antacid. Add Gas-X. Only Gas-X gets rid of the gas. The strongest, fastest reliever for gas pain and bloating. Gas-X.
Lucky for this diver, he has a thin, powerful seal. So thin it's virtually airtight. So powerful it even holds up to pressure. No, it's not on this diver's mask. The seal is on his dentures. Extra Hold Fast Teeth has a seal so thin yet so powerful, it's virtually airtight. For a hold that's closer to real than any ordinary adhesive, Extra Hold Fast Teeth, the Extra Hold seal that's closer to real.
Compaq has consistently led the industry with products that incorporate the latest technology.
Ms. Lucas, it's time to board.
You have time for this?
I have time.
The Compaq laptop pushes the state-of-the-art.
That's neat.
It's my secret weapon.
Compaq understands what its customers want.
Welcome to New York. How was the flight?
I can't wait to show you.
An epidemic is plaguing urban hospitals in this country. New figures from the American Hospital Association show that fully half of all city hospitals are losing money. In this decade alone, 240 have been forced to shut down. Well, tonight, Scott Pelley has the story of a New York City hospital that is on the critical list.
What happened to you? A man is attacked in central Brooklyn and rushed to Interfaith Hospital.
They wanted to kill me. Why they wanted to kill you?
On another floor, premature babies, some addicted to crack. Difficult cases, but the most desperate of all is the hospital itself.
This is Vic Pepitone, Interfaith Medical. Yes, we received the call on Friday saying that you were ready to auction off the hospital.
Creditors demand payment, but Interfaith is going broke.
I need a little more time on that.
It's one of many urban hospitals being threatened across the nation. Their income has been cut because the government now pays less for poor patients on Medicaid. But at the same time, costs are soaring because the diseases of poverty, AIDS, trauma, drug abuse are the most expensive to treat. Like many inner-city hospitals, Interfaith was once quite prestigious. Albert Einstein was treated here, and this is where Barbra Streisand was born. But over the years, the hospital has gone the way of the neighborhood. Once busy streets have become lanes of poverty and loneliness. Doctors' offices have closed. Now, Interfaith is the primary source of care for an area of 500,000 people, most without insurance.
It's really obscene that 40 million people in this country are not insured and unable to get appropriate health care and end up using an emergency room as their private doctor, if you will.
The result is a hospital struggling with huge debt and an overdrawn account.
Right now, we're sitting with a negative balance of about $650,000. That's money that we don't have. We overextended ourselves for a while.
You wrote more than $500,000 worth of hot checks.
Right. It's a daily occurrence around here.
Listen, don't move. I'm gonna have to cut your shirt.
In the emergency room, nurses buy bandages with their own money. Some admit to stealing minor items from other hospitals.
The same people that run out and buy the supplies are the same people who live in the community, and they want to see this hospital here because it has a mission. It takes care of a lot of patients.
One primary mission is drug treatment. Interfaith operates one of the largest drug programs in New York.
A lot of people are in trouble right now. They're going to be in more trouble if they take this hospital and this program away.
We'll pay every penny that we owe. Again, I just need a little more time.
Time ran out last year for 38 urban hospitals across the nation. Brooklyn's Interfaith holds on day by day, just one of an increasing number of inner-city hospitals facing their own mortality. Scott Pelley, CBS News, New York.
And reporter Pelley tells us Interfaith Hospital did get some good news this week. Federal inspectors determined the facility does meet the minimum standards for continued Medicaid funding, so it will not be forced to shut down.
Susan, can we talk?
Sure, Dad.
You notice anything different about Mom?
She's acting pretty wild for her age.
Well, I don't just mean the roller skates.
And the motor scooter. She even borrowed my new dress. Come on, Dad, what is it?
A balanced diet with the right vitamin nutrition helps people get more out of life. Some are finding Kellogg's Product 19. 100% of 12 vitamins and minerals. Feel good about yourself.
Not the, rubber dress.
Feel like 19 again.
The day may come when all refrigerators will hold up to 12-ounce spills like this and hold all your food like this. But isn't it nice to know Whirlpool has refrigerators that will do it today?
Just this much Cortaid heals more kinds of itches and rashes than all of these. Because Cortaid has a clinically proven healing medicine they don't have. That's why Cortaid is the Itch-Aid.
Today's X-Lax is a good morning, guaranteed.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. X-Lax is the sure way back to natural regularity.
Good morning.
Medical experts agree X-Lax actually restores the level of natural fluid in your system so your body can work the way it should work, naturally.
Good morning. Good morning.
People just can't remember feeling this good. Today's X-Lax, the sure way back to natural regularity, guaranteed.
Environmentalists the world over celebrated Earth Day today in New York. Thousands of marchers protested the Exxon oil spill and called for a boycott of the company. An organizer of the march said the message is that the public will no longer tolerate what he called corporate pollution of the planet. One way to safeguard the earthly environment is to keep population growth in check. That's an area where Mexico has been showing remarkable success lately, and David Dow has a report.
At a tiny health clinic near Mexico City, the talk is about pills. Not just any pill, the pill. At a hospital 200 miles away, a young woman receives an intrauterine device, an IUD, one of the world's most common birth control methods.
Dos.
No más.
No más.
I want 2 children, no more, she says. My mother had 8.
In the last 15 years, they've brought average family size down from 6 children per family to about 4 children per family. That's really remarkable.
Though other Latin nations have launched family planning programs during that period, none has cut its growth rate so rapidly, from 3.2% a year to about 2%. Government and private sources have pumped an estimated $1 billion into family planning. The Catholic Church, strictly separated from the state, has offered at most passive resistance. Family planning has even become a staple of primetime television, of popular soap operas.
¿Qué podía ser? Uno no puede controlar esas cosas.
Por eso es bueno planificar la familia.
It's a very controversial issue, but it's something that I think education in every way is the number one need in Mexico.
By and large, women have been receptive students. There are many, like Alejandro Acosta, who leave hospitals with a second child and a tubal ligation, female sterilization. It has taken longer, though, to change traditional male attitudes, so-called machismo.
They have thought that to have a lot of children, was a sign of virility.
Mexico now expects to enter the next century with 100 million people instead of the 135 million once projected. But the population is still growing faster than the nation's current ability to create new jobs.
The hard part is still ahead of them. They've got to reach the remote rural areas. They've got to reach very poor couples.
And to reach the children of the new revolution, to reinforce the new slogan of their parents, that wanting more for your children may mean having fewer. David Dell, CBS News, Veracruz, Mexico.
Did you know that certain kinds of diet frozen foods get 40, even 50% of their calories from fat? Fat! Eat smarter. The one you can trust is Le Menu Lifestyle. Every serving is under 300 calories, helps you limit sodium, cholesterol, and is low fat. The only thing we didn't touch is the taste. Le Menu Lifestyle. Eat smarter.
Shredded wheat?
I need my nutrition.
You'll need 12 boxes to equal the vitamin and mineral nutrition in just one box of Total. That's more nutrition than any other cereal.
That's more like it. One box, one bowl, one spoon.
We're here at the new Disney MGM Studios theme park for the premiere of the 1990 Chevy Lumina. The Lumina sedan has the most passenger room in its class. And coming later this year, the Lumina Coupe and the new Lumina all-purpose vehicle with optional seating for 7, no matter what your size. Introducing the family Lumina from today's Chevrolet.
The heartbeat of America. That's today's Chevrolet.
Chevy Lumina, official car of the Disney MGM Studios theme park.
See you real soon.
When it comes to buying a laxative, I would buy Dulcolax.
Mary Galdi talks about Dulcolax.
It's predictable. It's very gentle.
Dulcolax, tablets and suppositories.
I would not use anything but Dulcolax because it works.
Finally tonight, a story about the changing face of America. We're going to look tonight at one small corner of the country that is in for a big facelift. Whether it's a change for the better is a matter of debate. And Bruce Morton reports from Philadelphia.
Should I cut the breast in half again?
The Reading Terminal Market is 96 years old, full of places where they'll cut a chicken or fillet a fish or trim a steak just the way you want it. A stall market, greengrocers, fishmongers, butchers. Bassett's has been scooping ice cream here since it opened in 1893. Harry Oakes' butcher stall has been here almost as long.
I've only been here 43 years myself. My grandfather and father started the business. I have my son who's a 4th generation. This is a family business.
But some people are worried now that might change. Pennsylvania plans to build a convention center on this vacant lot next to the market and in this old abandoned Reading Railroad shed which sits on top of the market. The market will get physically restored, and it needs that, but floods of convention center tourists may change its character.
They're going to be shopping for a souvenir to take home. We've become a market that no longer serves the local populace's basic needs, but we're serving entertainment needs.
It's a place where blacks and whites mingle easily, he says, where rootless city folk can feel their roots. He's afraid the produce stalls will be replaced by boutiques selling designer T-shirts and perfume. Harry Oakes disagrees.
I don't think it would work if it turned into boutiques. I think we here are the heart of Philadelphia, and people don't want that.
Nobody wants to yuppify the market, certainly not the convention center planners.
We don't want this to be just another black box where people come and 3 days later they leave. We want them to come here because we've got something special, and that market is a special attraction.
The problem Philadelphia faces here in this market is one most cities face, one way or another, how to keep something old and good while at the same time making room for something new. It's not always easy.
If there are ways to make more money by selling T-shirts or babies' clothes, well, I think that they might end up doing that. So, I mean, it basically comes down to money.
Philadelphia loves this place, and they will support us, and hopefully the tourists will learn to love us as well.
That is the hope, because conventions and tourists are coming, whether the market is ready or not. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Philadelphia.
And that's the news. Connie Chung will be here tomorrow. Later tonight on West 57th, a story about crack-addicted children. I'm Bob Schieffer, CBS News in New York.
And soon it's time to say goodbye. Kareem plays his final regular season game when the Sonics face the Lakers tomorrow.
This is CBS.